All right, welcome to the first of its kind, world-changing manufacturers network. Lisa Ryan has her ears to the ground and her heart in the game. Get ongoing education and new connections right here with Lisa and the Manufacturers Network. Buckle your seat, listen, and spread the word. Here's Lisa.
Hey, it's Lisa Ryan. Welcome to the Manufacturers Network podcast. I'm excited to introduce our guest today, Guitze Messina. Guy is the executive director of Hardy LatAm, a pivotal force in transforming the HVACR industry across Latin America. His role at Hardy LatAm emphasizes fostering close relationships between manufacturers and distributors, leveraging best management practices, and promoting industry-wide integration through innovation exchanges and partnerships. Guy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lisa. Great to be here.
So share with us a little bit about your background and what led you to doing what you do at Hardy.
I'm an industrial engineer by trade, and then I decided that with what I learned in school, I wouldn't be able to manage a manufacturing practice, so I decided to get an MBA. And after getting my MBA, I worked at several manufacturing facilities for U.S. companies. And then I was hired as a consultant. And I would say that changed my life. First, because it got me into sales. One thing that most engineers would say, we don't like sales. Those guys should be put in jail. They change our lives. We don't realize that those are the guys that get us paid, right? But the reason I had to get into sales as a consultant is if you want to do a consulting project, you need to sell it first. And that was an aha moment for me, negative at the time. But the firm that I was working for is one of the top 5 consulting firms in the world that they said, okay, we'll send you to IBM and you'll take some training there on how to do consultative selling. And I would say that changed the feeling that I had about sales. It changed the mentality that I had about it because it showed me a process to follow. And being an industrial engineer, that's all we do, process-minded. That allowed me to really help my clients first as a consultant and to determine what the problems were before we could come up with solutions for those. And that has been with me throughout my career. I've read so many books on sales, it's not even funny, but I've tried to get more into the scientific side of sales. Being an engineer, we don't like the sales as an art that we've heard so many times. We believe that sales is actually becoming a science. And through statistics and through different studies, I've found that there is a common thread that we need to follow in order to be successful. So I was a consultant. I got into sales. And one day, an association came knocking to one of the AC manufacturers here in Florida who was hiring me as a consultant as well for projects that had to do with efficiency labels in Latin America. And that association happened to be Hardy, and they made me an offer, and the rest is history. I love exactly what I'm doing, and I don't see myself doing anything else. I absolutely love it.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I think about sales and the reputation that it has. And from somebody who spent more than 20 years in sales, and I was always a really proud salesperson because it wasn't about selling people stuff. It was about building relationships and helping them to do their work better. And I think that when you can get beyond that it's not just you're not just a slimy salesperson out there. You're actually using your knowledge and skills to educate the client or the customer and to make their lives better. And so that's a cool path that you took to get there. So when it comes to the HVACR industry in Latin America, what are some of the trends that you're seeing that are shaping the future in this sector?
Yeah, I would say that the U.S. has the US and Canada have the best distribution network as far as HVAC-R, refrigeration and air conditioning and heating is concerned. And we definitely need to copy a lot of those best practices. And what we are finding in Latin America now is that before, most of the owners of businesses in Latin America, they made decisions based on sales, political analysis, what's going to happen with the next president, what's the competition doing. It was mostly about feeling. No KPI analysis, no analysis based on data, no market analysis. They didn't go out to their customers to see what was their problems. So those are big changes that a lot of the Hardy members, when they come to the US and visit some of the best distributors in the world, they find that this is something that is very common here in the US, where we learn about what our customers are doing, what are their problems, what are their business problems, not only the technical problem, because it's a very technical driven industry. And a lot of the manufacturers just stock product all the time. So it is up to the distributor to understand what the business problem for the contractor, their customer is, because a lot of contractors are getting out of the business. They're having issues with manpower, they're having issues to sell, they're having issues to market. So all of those problems, they're also found in Latin America. We're losing a lot of contractors because they know how to install an air conditioner, but they don't know how to sell, they don't know how to market, they don't know how to stay in business. So those are big trends that we're finding in Latin America that have been present in the US for a long time, yet it is becoming news, quote unquote, for Latin America, and some of the best practices that we're trying to bring them as our membership keeps growing. We're now in 10 countries in 3 continents outside of the US and Canada, where Hardy was when we started.
There's such power in joining an association just so you can have access to that kind of information. So when it comes to some of the innovation that's going on in the industry, what are some of the trends that you're seeing that you find particularly exciting?
Yes, if we start with AI, we would probably start with the latest and best of all the trends. But I would say that AI is certainly going to change the industry, not only in Latin America, but also in the US in the next 5 years. So if you're not implementing some of the softwares that include AI within the next 5 years, you will lose a competitive edge. And I'll give you some examples, for example.
Yeah, please.
So the first one is pricing. Pricing, if you have 10 stores and you have 5 salespeople in each store, you're going to have price changes and overrides by all of these salespeople. And if you have 10,000 SKUs, you're going to have such variety of prices that it's going to be hard to control. So on the control side, definitely having a software that is overlooking at all the overrides that are being made certainly will help. But there is also the profitability side. There is going to be learning being done by the software that no particular person will be able to do 24/7. Even if you have the most scientific of pricing managers, they're not going to be able to look at every transaction of all those 10,000 products in every one of your locations. So now this product, all it does is exactly that for each customer, for each product in each location. Now, what if we increase the price 0.02%? How much does your profit increases by doing that? So those two sides of the AI pricing model, it's going to be a big game changer. Now, if you go into the inventory side, this is another software that a lot of ERP manufacturers will say, oh, our ERP is great at managing inventory. But everything that I've seen with two of the softwares that most of the Hardy members use that are specific to controlling inventory. They tell you exactly what product you need to buy, when you need to buy it, where you need to put it. So you can reduce the amount of inventory, meaning you save on capital, because that's the biggest expense that any distributor would have. But at the same time, you increase the service level, because usually by reducing the amount of inventory, you're going to have to say no to some of the clients when they come in and they say, do you have XYZ product? And you say, I'm sorry, we just ran out. So by reducing the amount of inventory, but at the same time, increasing the service level, you're going to increase your profits, you're going to reduce your costs. So those are just two quick examples that I can give you of trends, not only that are going to change in Latin America, but certainly also here in the US.
And I know because I'm a huge user and proponent of AI in my business. And I also know that there's a whole lot of people that are still terrified of it because it is scary when we look at the really big picture of it. But what are some of the things that you share with your members as far as just getting over that fear and maybe baby steps and starting to look at how to adapt AI, even if it's just for those two specific examples that you just shared?
I'll go with even simpler examples than that. So the fear is understandable. A lot of it has been said about lawyers losing their jobs because now AI is going to be able to do whatever lawyers do. But it's going to be very hard for a dentist to lose their job in order to get your teeth cleaned, right? Now,
Yes.
there are certain jobs that will be affected and certain jobs that will be enhanced. So let's talk about the enhancing side, which is where we need to start. And look at a salesperson who needs to make calls to their customers. If you want to make an analysis of this particular customer to have a better, more informed conversation, you're going to have to get into their account, see what are their buying patterns, what is it that they're buying today that should trigger another product that is related to this particular product, but they're not buying. So just to make it simple, let's say somebody's buying wax to wax their cars, but they're not buying tire shining liquid to shine their tires. So if you're in the car business or in the parts business for cars, you're going to say you're buying the wax from us, but you're never buying the tire shining liquid. So the same thing would happen for any distributor. You would have to make that analysis. Now imagine at least it's going to take you 15, 20 minutes, maybe even 30 minutes, depending on how many items this particular client buys. So if you had AI and you just said, what pattern has been broken from the regular buying pattern from this customer to what hasn't been happening in the last month and a half? And then AI comes back 2 minutes later and says, he normally buys 10 mini split units every month, but it's been a month and a half since he has done that. You should give him a call and see what's going on. So now this 1/2 an hour, 20-minute analysis that you should have done, which maybe you would have missed that as well. Now it gives it to you in 2 minutes, and now you have a conversation that you can have that makes sense to your client. Hey, Lisa, it's Guy from Hardy LatAm, and I know that you buy from us every month 10 mini split units, and it's been a month and a half that you haven't bought any. Is there any reason for that? Now that question allows me to get information, which is the true definition of sales, getting information.
Yeah.
That is a very simple way to use AI. And another simpler way for the Latinos out there or for the people that use WhatsApp, WhatsApp now has a little button that if you press it, you can ask it any question you want. So you can say, I'm a little bit sad because one of my friends lost his mother. What is a good text that I can send him that would show him that I really feel for him, but I never met his mother, so there's not much I can say about it. And AI will give you a text that you can send them. And this is a very simple thing, but you can also ask I don't feel good about what my son did. What should be a good way for me to tell him that he is not doing XYZ things right? And it would give you a great advice. So again, this is very simple things that we have in our fingertips that we can use to get other points of view, to get another idea, and to make to make our life easier.
You know what I really like about that example is that people are afraid of AI because they feel that it takes the human out of it. But in all those examples that you just shared, it's a way for us to be even more human because now we can reach out specifically to our customers and say, hey, I noticed that you haven't been buying as much as you normally buy. What's going on over there? And you ask an open-ended question. You're not being accusatory. Are you cheating on me with another distributor? But you're caring enough to reach out. And the reason why it worked so well is that most companies and most people aren't going to take the time to do that. They're going to say, oh, they must have gone somewhere else. I'll just have to go find the next customer or whatever it is. So it personalizes all of our interactions and it helps us be better. I know for me, when I'm writing an email that's a little difficult, and I always know that it's not the mood that you are in when you are writing the email, it's the mood the other person's in when they're reading the email. And so a lot of times I'll write something and then I'll put it in AI and say, is there a way that I can rewrite this? And when it comes back, I'm like, that's so much better. So it just helps us to do things a little bit better. I believe, like you said, there's going to be some jobs that are affected by it, but it's not going away. We've let that genie out of the bottle and just looking for ways that it can really enhance our relationships and keep the human in all of our interactions. It's just a great way to do that.
Well, a great example would also be when the computer came out with programs like Word. What happens with secretaries? They became decimated. 1 in 10 secretaries survived, and now they serve maybe 5, 10 managers. So you use less secretaries, a lot more people write their own letters and emails, but at the same time, it takes a lot less time than it used to. If you made a mistake writing a letter before, you had to pull the whole paper out and start writing the whole thing again. Right. So again, it has happened throughout history. When people started making cloth in the Industrial Revolution in England, a lot of people felt that people were going to be displaced, and they were, but a lot of better jobs were created. And the same thing is going to happen with AI.
Exactly. Yeah. So one of the things that's getting a little bit off that topic, or maybe not, but is sustainability, because not only is that something that younger workers are looking for in the careers that they want, how are they making a difference in saving the planet? But what are some of the things that you've seen in the industry as far as any sustainable practices that are really contributing to the environment and to conservation?
We're in an industry that is very technical in nature, and we're probably responsible for most of the electrical consumption in the world when you're talking about air conditioning, refrigeration, and heating. So we're in an industry that is all geared towards being green and towards being energy efficient. And manufacturers, they concentrate so much on the technical aspect, and unfortunately they forget a lot about the business aspect, so they don't know their customers on their business side as much as they should. But because they concentrate so much precisely on what you just said, we need to become greener by the second. There are so many environmental restrictions that are on top of our industry that we need to comply with. This year, we're changing the refrigerants that are being applied in most of the manufacturing product that goes out into the field. So definitely, we are aware that we are responsible for being a cause of change into a greener world. But at the same time, we're also an industry with incredible opportunity. And going back to your point about the new generation, they are concerned about having stability in their jobs. They're also concerned about the environment, but they're also concerned about doing something for the better good of the world. And nobody uses AI more than the new generation.
Yep.
So if you put all that together, we should be in the epicenter of attracting new people into our industry. And that is one thing that I think we're lacking. We're not attracting as many new minds as we should, certainly not attracting as many feminine minds as we should, because diversity gives you more strength. The women that lead with a different tone, with a different idea than men do. It's not that men are not better than women or women are not better than men. It's just a different style. And those two different styles complement each other. And I think that by having an industry that is growing, that has a lot of opportunity, that pays well, and that needs new thinking, we should be attracting more of the new generational workers into our workforce. And we need to put that message out there a lot better than we're doing today. And that's one of the things that we're doing at Hardy LatAm with our conference in October in Mexico City. I have an all-women panel because I want the message to resonate that they've made it. They want to become role models for other women. But at the same time, we also want to talk to the new generation. We want to talk to the younger generation, male or female, that they should come to this industry because we're saving the planet. We're helping everybody reduce their electric bill. We're paying well. We're growing and we're stable. It's one of the biggest industries in the world. People don't realize that after your house, the second biggest expense that you have is your air conditioning, heating, and refrigeration units inside your home.
Yeah, I think a couple of years ago when I spoke for women at HVACR, it was amazing to me. 500 women coming to this event. I'm so excited and passionate about what they do and encouraging other women to join. And yet the numbers are still what, like 4% of plumbers, for example, are women. So creating those safe environments, like you said, having an all-women panel, making sure that it's a welcoming environment that, like you said, pays well, is sustainable, great career, but we have to figure out ways to change that conversation to attract more women and people of color and all of the other people that we've ignored in the industry.
Absolutely.
So I know that one of the discussions that we had too was the making the relationships better or improving the relationships better between manufacturers and distributors, because one doesn't necessarily understand the workings of the other. Because you've been on both sides of the fence, what are some of the things that you have found that's helpful in in getting those conversations going and building those relationships so that they can have productive relationships?
I think that we at Hardy need to provide better guidance to manufacturers into understanding their customers. And we've begun to do that in the last few years. And I think it's starting to take effect. But if you think about the focus of a manufacturer is exactly what we talked about before, making a better product that is going to save energy, is going to save the planet, and it's going to be better than their competitors. So it's a very technical and product-focused industry. The conversations between manufacturers and distributors are led by the salespeople from the manufacturer. And what are the salespeople from the manufacturer thinking? It's about my product. I love my product first.
Yeah.
So my product is better than the competition. My product is going to save money to the final customer. My product is going to save the planet, my product. And if you extrapolate that further, the marketing that drives sales for the manufacturer is geared towards teaching the contractors who install the product and teaching the distributor who tells the contractors about the new product all the technical know-how that they're going to need in order to be able to install and maintain these products that are coming out. So a lot of that conversation, again, is technically and product centric. And in the end, the business conversation is, you bought $1 million from us last year. How much are you going to buy this year? And it's not understanding your customer, which is the number one rule of sales. If you knew that the inventory cost of the distributor is 75% of everything that they sell, that margins are about 25%, but that is gross margin. From that, they have to pay their employees, they have to pay rent, they have to pay utilities, they have to pay Uncle Sam, and then they can make a little bit of a profit. You would be surprised, Lisa, at how many manufacturers don't know the typical P&L of a distributor. You would be surprised they don't know the typical P&L of a contractor, which is the customer of your customer, who a lot of the times is the one that decides to buy the manufacturer's product over another product. So obviously the manufacturers want to influence those guys, and they do that through those marketing technical classes, but also the contractors in certain states, they need to have a license. So in order to keep that license, they need to take X amount of training so they can justify keeping their license to keep installing XYZ products or handling XYZ products. So now for licensing issues and marketing issues, a lot of that conversation is all about the product and the technical side. It's very little to do with how do you sell the product? How do you sell it in a way that is not about the product? Because if you sell product, you're going to sell price. You need to sell what is the problem that the customer have. If you don't understand that, you're going to be selling based on price all the time. That's why a good salesperson should be a doctor. They should just ask questions. So what happens when this happens? What is the implication of cost to you? Nobody pays $50 for a $1 solution. So if the implication of the problem is a $1 thing and you're selling a $50 gadget, nobody's going to buy that. So you need to see if the implication is more than $50. So that would make it viable for the final customer to buy the product that you're selling. And all of this is something that is not practiced worldwide, and certainly by most of the manufacturers that I've seen. Very few dominate this issue, that they need to understand the business side of their customers, not only the distributor, but also the contractor. We don't want the contractors to go out of business because they can't market. Obviously, they can't. They're good technically, and the time that they took to go to school to learn their technical abilities, that was it. They need to go out and install stuff. They're not good at selling it. So we need to help them. And in the United States, the HVACR industry has done a great job creating the dealer program, which is basically a way for distributors to unite with the manufacturers and provide marketing dollars and marketing agencies who are expert at marketing the services that the contractors do, so that contractors don't have to learn what they don't need to learn. They can go out and install the product and get the marketing done by somebody that does it well. And it's good business for the distributor because now he's going to be pulling demand from the contractor, and it's going to be a good business for the manufacturer because they're going to be pulling demand from the distributor. And that is a beautiful thing that we need to teach in Latin America, and perhaps other distributor associations and some other distributor industries can learn from this model, which is so beautiful, to create recurrent industries in every step of the market. So the distributor is a recurrent customer of the manufacturer, and the contractor is a recurrent customer of the distributor. That makes our sales model different. The problem is the contractor doesn't have a recurrent customer in the residential person or the commercial person who is installing air conditioning. If a mall wants to install an air conditioner, they're not going to do that every year, every 3 months. They're going to do that maybe once every 10 years. If you in your house, Lisa, if you want to install a new air conditioning system, you're going to do that and you're not going to think about it for the next 10 years. You may do some maintenance on it, but you're not going to install a new one. So that is where there is a break in the chain from recurrent to non-recurrent. So in order for us to help the contractor have a more recurrent type of sale, we need to help them with the marketing. And that's what creates a beautiful chain and a different system of sales that we need to understand, which is recurrent sales are different than non-recurrent sales.
You are obviously a sales expert and the author of a book. So share with us a little bit about that.
Beautiful. That's a great segue into the book Money Call. What we wanted to show to the industry is that precisely we need to focus different on sales than other industries like real estate, cars, software. Those industries, they sell in a long cycle, and once every 10 years, 30 years. If you sell life insurance, it's going to be once in a lifetime. But our industry is recurrent from the point of view that the distributor is buying from the manufacturer very frequently, every month, every 2-3 months. The contractor buys daily, every 4 days, every 5 days, every month. At the most, it will buy every quarter. So those type of sales are different from the point of view that we don't need to do prospecting as much as the other type of sales do. So we need to focus more on understanding our current customers before we go out looking for new customers. And that is a big difference that we need to understand. I find it hard when I see distributors saying, I need to look for more new customers in XYZ area. I need more customers here. I need more customers there. And I say, okay, but do you realize how many customers do you actually have today? Yes, I have 1,500 customers. The problem is they believe that those 1,500 buy 100% of everything that they can from them. And that is where things start to go wrong. Okay, so ask them. That one of the top 5 questions in the book is, what percentage of everything you buy do you buy from us? And then when you get 20%, the salesperson is going to go, oh my God, I get 80% more opportunity. And you shouldn't think that way. You just need to think, what is it that 1% more that I can sell to this particular customer? Okay, not the 80%. What 1%? But nobody buys air conditioning. Nobody buys refrigerants. Nobody buys products. They buy a solution to a problem. And what is it that a distributor actually sells? You need to ask them, what is it about doing business with us that you like? Oh, you honor the warranty real fast. It's got nothing to do with the product. It's got to do with your service. Oh, the training that you provide to us is world class. Great. And different customers are going to sell, they're going to value different things. So you need to understand from each customer, what is it that they buy from you? What is it that they like buying from you? And you need to ask, what is it that they like buying from the competition? And you can't be defensive, because if you are defensive, you're going to stop the flow of information. And again, the best definition of sales is getting information from the customer. If you're not getting information, you can't sell. So don't be defensive. If they say, oh, we like the prices that they give us much better than yours, that's okay. Great. So pricing is important to you. Is there something else that you like about the competition that we should know about? And let them talk. Let them tell you. Don't get defensive so the information flows. And again, those are 5 questions that you're going to see in the book. And a lot of the things that are different from what we wanted to talk about in the book is that we made it a novel. We made it a fable, so you would be part of the story. And we ask questions, so you would ask yourself those questions. We want people to implement a system. We don't want people to say, wow, I realize that we're in a recurrent sales business. This is different. I should do things differently. I don't want that. I want people to actually implement a system that is going to increase their sales, but most of all, like you said before, is going to provide more value to our customers. And it's going to differentiate, because nobody calls our customers today and says, you haven't bought XYZ from us in the last month and a half. Is there any reason for that? Nobody does that. Nobody follows up on quotes. I've had secretaries call during sales meetings saying to salespeople that their bosses were really angry because they never follow up on quotes.
Mhm.
I said, whoa, now we have pigeons shooting the shotguns, right? That's great to hear that customers really want to be followed up on. And
Right.
they don't have the time. Sometimes they forget, they have a million things. And if you follow up, you increase the opportunity that you have by 20% on closing. And following up is not following up once. You should follow up at least 5
Yep.
times. Okay. 88% of
Right.
sales close within 5 follow-up calls. So again, we have a lot of data in the book. And if we didn't make it a fable, I thought it would be too crude. So we wanted to make it something conversational and fast. I don't want to make a book that would make people think that I'm a genius. I wanted a book that would make people read it quickly and say, man, I can implement this tomorrow. I can take 2 or 3 of these ideas and put it to work in my company really quickly. That's what we want. And that's a little bit of what you're going to see in Monaco.
Yeah. And it's interesting, again, going back to asking those questions, not being defensive, just answering with kind of a thank you for sharing type of feedback. And even just reaching out and say, hey, can I have 15 minutes of your time? And then when that at 14 and a half minutes to say, hey, we're just about at 15 minutes. I want to respect your time. So you're conveying, you get the information that you need, short and snappy. And the reason why it works so well is because there's so few people that are actually taking the time to do it, to ask the customers, because we're afraid to ask about our competition. We're afraid to hear good things about the competition because we think that, oh, if they love the competition, then maybe I'll remind them and they'll stop doing business with me. No, you actually increase the opportunity for them to do business with you because their competition is probably not asking those same questions. So it sounds like a fantastic resource. And as we're getting to the end of our time together, it's like you and I can talk about sales all day long. What is something that either I didn't ask you that you wish I would have, or that you want to make sure that you leave our listeners with today?
Absolutely. So I would like to leave them with a few questions, right? So one of those is, are you selling or is your customer buying? That is a very important question, because unfortunately, that question leads to you being in control or the customer being in control of the sales process. If the customer is calling you for a particular product, you're no longer in control, because now you don't have the time for analysis. That analysis that we talked about, going into what is it that they normally buy, you need time to prepare in order to make the call. You need to be the one making the call, right?
Mhm.
So when the call comes in, you're no longer in control. they're the ones driving the time. It's always urgent. I need this now. Do you have it? How much? Can I go pick it up? And that's it. They control the conversation. And when that changes and your competition starts getting in control and they start calling your customers and start implementing a money call system, now you're going to have a hard time catching up. And this is precisely the reason for my question. Do you sell or do your customers buy from you? And that also leads to another question, which is, do you understand your customer? Do you know what their problems are? Because a lot of manufacturers, with reason, believe that, unfortunately, distributors are not as proactive as they should be understanding the customer's issues. And a lot of that comes from not asking those questions. And that's why Hardy now is implementing the voice of contractor surveys in order for us to provide more information to distributors and also for manufacturers to understand what is it that contractors are thinking. And we have a good conversation with the guys that do that survey in order for them to tweak some of those questions so they can become more relevant and we can get better answers. So I would like to leave your audience with those questions in order for them to realize, what is it that I could do to implement a more proactive system that can lead to better customer service and more sales down the line?
Awesome. And if people wanted to continue the conversation with you or learn more about Hardy and Hardy LatAm, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Absolutely. So the best way would be LinkedIn. We're really active on LinkedIn. So you look for my name, Guitze Messina. Good thing about having a weird name is that there's not too many of those. So you will find that immediately. You could look at the Hardy webpage, and you could look at the Hardy LatAm webpage, which is hardylatam.org or hardynet.org. And the Hardy LatAm webpage will be in Spanish. The Hardy webpage will be in English. So through there, you can definitely get in touch with us, and we'll be glad to continue the conversation with anybody that wants to talk about sales, that wants to talk about change, that wants to talk about the price of your future change is to let go of your current success. The more you hold on to your current success, you're not going to be so open to changing into the future. So if you want to talk about any of those subjects, I'll be glad to.
Wonderful. And the one thing that I did learn about your LinkedIn profile is that if you right click on it, it says translate to English.
Beautiful.
So now I know. It took a minute, but yeah. So LinkedIn does make it really easy for no matter what language you speak to be able to translate it so that you can read the background, the profiles. Guy, it was such a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for joining me.
My pleasure, Lisa. Talk to you soon.
I'm Lisa Ryan, and this is the Manufacturers Network Podcast. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Manufacturers Network Podcast. Do me a favor and share this podcast with your friends and colleagues so we can grow this network and connect more fantastic folks just like you. You can either send your buddies to the website at manufacturers-network.com or share the Manufacturers Network podcast on your LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or wherever you and your industry friends hang out. The bigger and faster we grow the network, the stronger and deeper the community we'll all have. Thanks again, and I appreciate you.